Have you ever wondered where the powerful ideas driving today's nationalist movements in Europe really come from? The headlines feel so immediate, so 21st century. But what if I told you the playbook they're using is way older than you think? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into the surprising 19th century romantic origins of some of the most powerful political forces shaping the continent today.
First things first, let's get one thing straight. Across Europe, parties that get described in a lot of ways, nationalist, far-right, or what researchers are now calling neo-nationalists, these are not a fringe movement anymore, not by a long shot. They've become a real, lasting feature of the political landscape, and understanding them is key to understanding Europe right now.
I mean, just look at this chart. It really tells the story. You can see this huge surge in support for these parties right after the 2015 migration crisis. And this isn't just one or two countries. We're talking about a trend across the entire continent. So you have to ask, what's the big idea that's powering this shift?
And it's not just about protest votes anymore. As a political researcher, what's really fascinating is how deeply embedded they've become. From Italy to Germany to Sweden, they're either leading governments, they're essential coalition partners, or they're the main opposition. They are absolutely shaping national policy, whether they're in power or not.
So that brings us to the big question. Where do these really powerful ideas, national sovereignty, cultural identity, this whole us versus them framing, where does it actually come from? Well, the answer isn't in yesterday's news. We have to rewind the clock way back by about 200 years.
Yeah, we're going back to a time of art, poetry, and revolution, to a movement that put feeling and identity on a pedestal, right above the pure logic and reason of the Enlightenment. We're talking about the Romantic era.
See, in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, Europe was just in complete chaos. First, the French Revolution completely upends the old order of kings and dynasties. Then, Napoleon's armies march all over the continent, and the resistance against them actually forges this new, powerful sense of shared identity for Germans, for Spaniards, for Russians. And it all just explodes in 1848, the Spring of Nations, when this new idea of the nation sparks revolutions everywhere.
And out of all that turmoil came this really radical idea, romantic nationalism. It basically flipped the whole world upside down. The thinking was, a state's right to exist doesn't come from a king or from God. No, it grows from the ground up, from the organic unity of the people themselves. A nation, they said, was this natural, almost spiritual community, not just some piece of property a monarch owns.
Okay, so if a nation isn't just some land ruled by a king, what is it? Well, the Romantic thinkers, they had a very clear and incredibly influential answer to that. They went looking for the soul of the nation, and they argued that a people's true character, their unique Volksgeist, or spirit of the people, was hidden in its culture. Think about the Brothers Grimm. They weren't just writing down fairy tales for kids. They believed they were capturing the very essence of the German soul, or scholars reviving old national epics like Beowulf to create this heroic, mythic past. And this leads to this brilliant idea of the imagined community from the political scientist Benedict Anderson. I mean, think about it. You feel this powerful connection to millions of your fellow citizens, people you will never, ever meet. A nation is built on that deep horizontal comradeship, this sense of belonging with total strangers that's imagined into existence through shared stories and symbols. It's an idea that feels more relevant than ever today, right?
Now, this created two totally different visions of what a nation is, and this split basically defines our politics to this day. On one side, you have civic nationalism. Think of it like a club you choose to join based on shared values like liberty and equality. On the other side, you have ethnic nationalism. This is more like the family you're born into. Membership isn't a choice. It's defined by shared blood, heritage, and culture.
Okay, so let's fast forward. How do these old 19th century ideas actually translate into a 21st century election? Well, those romantic ideals have been adapted into a playbook that is remarkably consistent and effective.
So the modern neo-nationalist playbook is a direct echo of those romantic ideas. Step 1, define the in-group, the real people of the nation. Step 2, identify an out-group. Maybe it's the EU, maybe it's migrants, and frame them as a threat to that core culture. Step 3, tell a really compelling story of a nation under attack. And step 4, position your party as the only one that can protect the nation's soul.
But here's the thing. The goal isn't just about winning an election. The deeper strategy is to change the entire conversation. By constantly hammering on issues like asylum, borders, and national identity, they force every other party to fight on their turf. And that can shift the entire political center of gravity their way.
This quote from Alice Weidel, the leader of Germany's AfD, is just perfect. A rival party tried to win back voters by adopting a tougher stance on immigration, and her response was basically, go ahead, try to copy us. We're the original. It's this incredibly confident claim rooted directly in that romantic idea of being the one, true, authentic voice of the nation's spirit.
Now, let's be really clear here. This is not a simple repeat of history. We're not reliving the 19th century. What we're hearing is an echo of its most powerful ideas, just repurposed for our modern world.
And understanding that connection, how a philosophical movement from 200 years ago provides the language of identity, the idea of a national soul, and the playbook for in-groups and out-groups, that is absolutely essential if you want to make sense of the headlines and the deep currents shaping our world right now.
And that leaves us with a huge final thought. You know, we live in a world facing massive challenges, climate change, economic crises, that demand we cooperate across borders. So what role is this powerful, romantic, 19th century idea of the nation as something pure, separate, and totally sovereign going to play in our future? It's a question that connects a very distant past to our very real and very complex present,